Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Jade. It is great to have you here. It has been a long time coming. I have been a bit MIA these past few months. It's been a crazy past few months, and then I was planning on coming back and filming a bunch of videos again, but then the World Cup started and I knew that I was gonna watch the World Cup. I love the World Cup, the Olympics, and so I was very aware of the fact that I was going to be watching a few games, but then I ended up becoming so obsessed with it and I watched every single game. Like, I lived, breathed the World Cup. I planned my days around the World Cup, and so I went to a bunch of watch parties. I was able to go to a game. I saw Egypt and Australia while they were in Arlington, so I was just having the time of my life. I was rooting really hard for Mexico, and if you've been following the World Cup, you know that Mexico lost recently, which means that they were kicked out of the 2026 World Cup. So I literally went through the 5 stages of grief with that, but that's okay. And so then I was gonna go for Egypt. You can see my little Egyptian flag right there, and their game was a couple of days ago, and so we're not going to talk about that game because I actually was very mad, but that's okay. It's okay. I'm here. I'm back. We're going to talk about the books that I've been reading recently. So this is really in no particular order, but I think in May I did finish Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've been in a bit of a reading slump. I've been reading kind of consistently. It's just with the World Cup going on, I've been really glued to my TV, and then also just kind of mentally I've been a bit distant, but I haven't really been falling into the books that I've been reading. I did read Atmosphere. This was a book that I read, and it was like the first time that I actually was able to sit down and read a book after reading a lot on my Kindle and then listening to it, because for whatever reason I just recently haven't been able to actually break open a book and read a book. But I did really enjoy this one. I would recommend it. It follows our main character. Her name is Joan. It reads an epic new novel set against the backdrop of the 1980s space shuttle program about the extraordinary lengths we go to live and love beyond our limits. It follows Joan as she is trying to get into the space program and be, part of history as one of NASA's first women to be part of the space program and to go up into space. And we follow her over the course of 6 years. It kind of goes back and forth between us following her journey getting into the space program, and then it flips forward to us reading about her during this kind of scary situation that she's in, and then of course we don't really know what happens and how, if she ever pulls through that, until the end of the book. So it's a split timeline, which I don't really like split timelines, but I like this book, and it was annoying at first because obviously I want to know what's going on in the present time, but in order to fully grasp what's going on in the present, you have to know the past. And so I actually really loved our character dynamics. Taylor Jenkins Reid is such a beautiful writer. She is able to set the scene, able to get you to care about her characters, and I just absolutely enjoyed it. I loved Joan as a character. I wish nothing but the best for her. This one will make you a little sad, I will say. I almost cried while reading this one, but luckily I wasn't able to. But after reading this book, it made me so inspired. Joan was such an inspiration, and it made me want to just go outside and literally look at the stars. And so if you want a book that just helps you appreciate life and earth and the fact that we are all here together, this is our home, and you want to feel like you are a part of something bigger, I definitely recommend this one. I think I gave it about 4 stars. And then another book that I recently read was The Caretaker by Marcus Clywer. I didn't enjoy this one as much as I thought I was going to. I read We Used to Live Here by Marcus Clywer, and I absolutely love that one. I gave it 5 stars. I always say that if you want a book that doesn't really have a solid ending, it's left up to interpretation, I definitely recommend We Used to Live Here. It was very spooky, kind of going into the horror genre a little bit, but I absolutely loved it. I just love the fact that there was a bunch of open endings and it made you think, and the reason why I loved it so much was that it made me think so much about it after the book was over. And so I was really excited to hear that Marcus Clywer was coming out with his second book. It came out, I started reading it for my book club, and I didn't really connect to it. It was very slow, low-key, a little boring. It didn't capture me like how We Used to Live Here did. And the ending was very unsatisfying in the fact that like it just seemed like we were gonna go one way and then we didn't. And I know that that's what I really liked about We Used to Live Here, was the fact that we didn't get a lot of answers. But with this one, I think just because throughout the whole book I was very uninterested, I was very bored, the ending unfortunately could not save it for me. But if you don't know what The Caretaker is about, it follows our main character. I actually cannot remember her name right now, but she is really poor. Her father recently passed away, her sister has some medical issues, and she needs to find jobs very quickly, but she's having a hard time finding a job. And so on Craigslist, she sees an ad posted that this older woman needs a caretaker for the weekend for her house, and it actually comes with a bunch of weird requests. For example, if she sees bunnies in the house, she has to take the bunnies out within a certain amount of time, and if that certain amount of time is over, she has to kill them, but she has to kill them in a very specific way. Another example is that if someone comes to the door and they have icy blue eyes, do not let them in, do not let them hear you in the house, do not let them see you. And it could be someone that you know come to the door, but if they have icy blue eyes, do not let them in. It is not that person, it is a weird entity. And so it was this spooky read that I thought it was going to be very spooky like We Used to Live Here and it go into the horror genre a bit, but it was just really boring. If I'm being completely honest, I did not enjoy it. It was very boring, very slow. We didn't get to like the main point until I feel like halfway through the book. And what I loved about We Used to Live Here was that we got to the point and spooky things started happening very quickly and throughout the whole novel. And unfortunately, The Caretaker just did not live up to the hype that I was giving it. So I think I gave that one about 2.5 to 3 stars. And then after that, I ended up starting Outlander. I think actually I read The Caretaker and finished it simultaneously. Like I was reading this one at the same time. And this one took me forever to read. I will say, if you want to read Outlander right now, I'm gonna warn you, look at the trigger warnings. There's a bunch of tough topics that are talked about, a lot of tough things that happen to our main characters, and I would definitely recommend you looking at trigger warnings. This one follows the main character. Her name is Claire. She is living in the 1940s. It is post World War II. I think it's like a few months to a year after World War II ended. And she decides that she's gonna go to the Scottish Highlands with her husband to kind of have like a second honeymoon. They got married shortly before World War II broke out, and so they kind of don't really know each other because they haven't seen each other throughout the full length of the war. And so now that he's home, she just feels like they need to reacquaint themselves with each other. So they go to the Scottish Highlands, and Claire accidentally stumbles upon something that transports her back from 1945 to 1743. It says, suddenly Claire is a Sassenach, an outlander in a Scotland torn by war and raiding clans. I don't really want to explain kind of the history of what's going on because I don't really know much about it myself. I did take an early modern Britain class a couple semesters ago. I did learn about Bonnie Prince Charlie, and I did learn about Mary Queen of Scots, Catholic and Protestants, and some things like that. But there is some bad blood between the two countries, and so she is dropped right in the middle of that bad blood. And of course, I think something big happens in 1745 that leads to a bunch of Scottish Highlanders to unfortunately lose their lives. And so this is during that time period. I enjoyed it, but the thing is that with books that are this long, I feel like there are just some things where if something's not constantly happening, we can cut it. And even though I did enjoy it, I feel like it was very slow. It was very slow. Not a lot was happening in the middle. I did enjoy it, but I just feel like I don't know if I would want to continue with this series, because even though I love Claire and I love Jamie, a bunch of things that they went throughout this book was something that was a bit tough for me to handle. And I heard if this book was hard, then a bunch of the other books would be hard too, because those topics don't really stop. And so while I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy my time with Claire and Jamie, and I really enjoyed their relationship and their romance, I don't think I would want to keep reading about these characters suffering. I did give this one 4 stars. Again, I did enjoy it. I thought the premise was really good. I thought Claire going back to 1700s Scotland was really fun. And while I did enjoy it, I just don't know if I'm up to continue the rest of the series. Could be wrong about that, but as of right now, I think that's my answer. After that, I ended up reading If I Never Met You by Vari McFarlane. And this one was kind of a filler book, something to just get me out of Outlander and get me out of just the tough topics that we were talking about in there, and get me out of like a time travel book. And I enjoyed this one. I wish that the romance was more developed between our characters. Follows our main character. Her name is Lori. She has been with her boyfriend for like years and years, probably like 10-15 years. She's in her mid-30s, and all of a sudden her boyfriend tells her like, we need to break up. We've been together for too long that I feel like I need to grow as an individual person. And so Lori is just very distraught, especially for the fact that she works with this guy. Like, she has been dating him since she was 18 years old. She's now in her mid-30s. She's not married. Like, she has no kids. She's wanted kids, and she felt like she was going to have kids with this man, and then he tells her like, actually, I don't want to have anything with you. And she's just very distraught, and also she's gonna have to see him at work. And so she kind of comes up with this plan with another coworker of hers named Jamie to fake date in order to have everyone else not pity her so badly. Like, she's fine, she's okay, she's dating again. Not she's still hung up on her ex that everyone at their work knows because they all work together. And of course, there's a fine line between what's fake and what's real, and so something ended up actually happening with Lori and Jamie. And so again, while I really enjoyed this one, I just feel like the romance wasn't as present. It was definitely not the main point of the story, and I am able to identify that fact, but that is what I really wanted. I just wanted like a fast-paced romance that would help me keep me going after reading Outlander. So I did end up giving this one 4 stars, and I feel like this is going to be one of those books where at the end of the year, when I reflect on the books that I've read, that one might be one that could be a little forgettable for me. But I really did enjoy the writing of this one, and I feel like if I do want a romance with a bit more substance to it, I will pick up more of Vari McFarlane's books. Next, I did end up reading Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. This one follows our main character. Her name is Libby Day. Let me go ahead and read the synopsis because I don't want to mess it up. So it reads, Libby Day was 7 when her mother and 2 sisters were murdered in the Satan's sacrifice of Kinnicky, Kansas. She survived and famously testified that her 15-year-old brother Ben was the killer. 25 years later, the Kill Club, a secret society obsessed with notorious crimes, locates Libby and pumps her for details. They hope to discover proof that may free Ben. Libby hopes to turn a profit off her tragic history. She will connect with the players from that night and report her findings to the club for a fee. Because she's broke, and so she's like, I low-key don't want to get a job. I'm gonna go ahead and say it right now. Libby's unlikable. I did not like her. I felt bad for her. I felt bad for little kid Libby, but adult Libby, I didn't like her. But anyway, so she's like, I can make money off of people wanting to know more about my family's case. Because she was there that night. She was little, but she was there that night. So she's kind of exploiting these people, but they're also exploiting her. So it's a fine line. But so it reads, as Libby's search takes her from shabby Missouri strip clubs to abandoned Oklahoma tourist towns, the unimaginable truth emerges. And Libby finds herself right back where she started, on the run from a killer. I will say the on the run for a killer part, I thought that would have been a bit more prevalent throughout the story, but it's kind of something that pops up literally at the last few chapters, so don't go in thinking that it is a race that she's being pursued by a killer. It's really not what it is. But like I said, Libby was a bit unlikable. Oh no, she was very much unlikable. I did not really like her. Again, like I said, I felt bad for kid Libby, but adult Libby, she was just, I just didn't like her. I didn't feel bad for her. She was definitely stunted in her growth because of what happened to her when she was 7 years old, and the fact that she witnessed horrible things happen to her family. But she was just very unlikable, and I've read a bunch of reviews about the book, and I think that's the general consensus that a lot of people also came up with. I think that throughout the story though, I did enjoy it. I was very hooked because I wanted to find out what actually happened, if Ben, her brother, was the actual murderer. So I was just really interested to know the full truth about what happened that night. And I do think I'll give the book about 3.5 stars. We did get the mom's point of view for leading up to, I think, like the day before she was murdered to like an hour before she was murdered, and her brother. And they were pretty, the brother was pretty weird. Like, if I would also say read the trigger warnings before, if you decide that you want to read this book, because it took some turns. It took some turns that I wasn't quite expecting. But I read that one with my book club as well, and it was definitely a roller coaster. So the last book that I finished literally just yesterday was The Someday Garden by Ashley Poston. I love Ashley Poston. My favorite book of hers is The Dead Romantics, and then I love, they're literally right here, Sounds Like Love and The 7-Year Slip. And so I was really excited to get this one. I was able to see her on her book tour for the release of this book, and so I have my copies signed, which I'm just so happy for. I love looking at it. It follows our main character. Her name is Sophie. She gets hired on as like the head gardener to this estate called Lilymore. It's known for their gardens, their endless gardens, and some people even say that Lilymore is magic. And right now Sophie's going through a tough time because the synopsis doesn't say this, but her best friend recently passed away, and so there's a lot of talk of grief in this book. I will warn people of that. She's going through just a really tough time mentally right now due to the fact that her best friend has recently passed. And so she kind of comes to Lilymore and takes on this temporary job to kind of just run away from her problems. And so one day she's wandering through the garden and this door appears, and she goes into it and she realizes that there's a man stuck in this secret garden. And the door never appears in the same place twice. It always appears on random days. Sometimes it doesn't appear, other times it does, but it always seems to come around sunset. Now Sophie's just trying to figure out how to get the man untrapped from the secret garden. And so I felt like the premise of this was very fun. I thought it was going to be a fun magical realism, like how Ashley Poston always writes them. And there's always like an underlying emotional theme with her books. They're not really just straight romance books. But with this one, there was so many side characters that we were following along. I feel like the author was trying to misdirect us in a way. I feel like the romance wasn't as prevalent like how I wanted it to be. And because of that, there weren't enough time in the book for our characters to actually gain what I believe would have been an emotional connection. Because also the door only happens every once in a while, there's not a lot of parts in the book where our main characters are interacting with one another. Again, that leads me to believe that they could have a sustaining romance and a sustaining relationship. But I still love this book. There's a bunch of quotes in here that jumped out at me that I took pictures of and I wanted to mark later. I still really did enjoy this one. And when I went to the book signing, Ashley Poston said that this was going to be her last magical realism book for a while. So I am just going to hold on to this book with my whole heart, because even though it's definitely not my favorite, it's definitely not my least favorite, I still really enjoyed it. And I did give this one 4 stars. It just wasn't what I was expecting, because there was so much going on in terms of our side characters that it definitely took away from our main characters. But those are the books that I've been reading. Let me see when I actually read Atmosphere, just to give y'all an idea. May 23rd to May 30th, and I just finished The Someday Garden yesterday on July 7th. So these are the books that I've read majority for the past almost 2 months. I hope that I'm slowly getting out of like this weird reading slump that I've been in, and I hope to post some more videos soon, so keep an eye out for that. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope y'all give it a like. I hope y'all subscribe so I can see you on the next one, and let me know down in the comments what books y'all have been reading lately, what y'all's favorite book of the year has been so far. I'm excited to see what y'all have to say. So I'll see you on the next one. Bye.